Welcome back to this reality here tonight live on Paranormal as we're talking about the multitude of dimensions and the theories around multiple dimensional theory that exist. A brilliant book has been put together by a guy from right here in Regina, Saskatchewan, a fixture in the local arts and entertainment and film scene for many, many years. His name is Rob Bryanton, and he joins us this evening. His book, Imagining the 10th Dimension, sits here in front of me. You can see 10thdimension.com. We've posted a link to one of the videos, one of the brilliant videos that explains so very well what these theories entail. At least sort of a surface scraping of what these theories entail, I think, is what you've given individuals on 10thdimension.com. Because there's so many videos, but the one video that I posted is sort of the overview of the individual dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
And so where can we go with this? Because I really feel like there's a connection and a tie, and you hit on it in that last segment when you said that you like to think about the ghosts or the deceased Rob Bryantons from other realities and sort of what impact they might have. Do you believe in ghosts, Rob?
I do believe in ghosts, and my experience is anybody who has had a believable experience believes in ghosts. Anybody who hasn't had that experience is more likely to be a skeptic. I mean, it's just natural.
Now, are the spirits that we seem to be communicating with around the world in multiple fashions? Many people have these experiences. Many of our listeners, myself, are these the spirits of people that we know that have passed? Or is there something else at play, something that maybe might contain the idea that we're actually communicating with maybe ourselves from another dimension that's sort of poking through that very thin sort of veil or that thin film? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, the idea that you don't walk in front of a bus because there are all the versions of you that have already died from walking in front of a bus. So you've got that kind of stuff sitting on your shoulders behind you at all times. I mean, isn't it going to be great the day that you do die when you get to meet with all the other people that died so much earlier in your life, and you're able to say, wasn't that great how long we managed to last there? We were so lucky. What a great life we had. Anybody at any time in their life can say that, because isn't it amazing? Isn't this reality something worthy of praise and wonder?
What if we die and what's on the other side is a collection of 50 Rob Bryantons? You know, you get to meet all the versions of yourself from those other realities.
That's exactly what I'm looking forward to. I've written about that in my blog.
That is like just mind for me right now as I sit here in studio to think that maybe when I'm working at a location where there's a paranormal event that seems to be happening, maybe the thing that's coming through is the subject's alternate reality versions that are communicating, that are interacting.
Yep. No, absolutely.
He sits across me. He says, "Yep." So matter of fact, he's like, "Yes, that's what we're saying."
Well,
here.
yeah. I mean, there's a couple different versions of that. I mean, there are information echoes, and you're very familiar with those kind of things that just seem to be something that keeps happening and happening, and it's like you fired off a gun in that space, and it's still echoing.
Residual hauntings. If you're listening, that's what that would be. That would be residual hauntings.
Sure. But if you're willing to accept that there is something marvelous happening in the chain of consciousness that is happening right now within space-time, within my mind, within your mind, then there must be some way that that is happening independently of the meat that's walking around here, you know. And we know that because we see all the ways that we echo back to ourselves through a lot of it, of course, is genetics, right? There's genetic memory that's happening there that tells us an awful lot about our reality already, you know. So imagining yourself as being connected back in this, remember Dawkins called it a river out of Eden. I mean, that's exactly what you're about here. If you're going to think of yourself as a space-time object, think of yourself as a river out of Eden, right? Because all those genes are connected back there. I'm so disappointed at the stances Dawkins has taken, because that's a very enlightened way of thinking about it, you know. But that is the physicality of us, right? There's still this other thing that's happening independently of that right now, and so the question is, does it go on afterwards? I believe it does, and I believe that that's what you're seeing then is very much the chain of attention of somebody, a relative who's still interested in seeing what happened next. So they're still here following that one Planck frame after another reality of frames that are defined by certain probabilities and certain choices.
We look up consciousness, we see one definition, but for Rob Bryanton, what is the definition of consciousness? What do you see that as?
That is the spark that is aware. So, they got it right in Buckaroo Banzai.
So
No matter where you go, there you are.
there it is. Yeah. Now, what I think really sort of needs to be looked at and examined closer then is how we can, as individuals, affect our connection with these dimensions. Is there anything to say that we can conceivably push through or experience an alternate dimension? Because you talk about the Flatlanders in the book as being these sort of two-dimensional characters that can't really perceive the third dimension. They can't really perceive the balloon. You use the balloon as sort of this object, and sort of how the balloon comes into existence, changes shape, and then it's gone. It becomes a point at one point. So can we perceive these alternate dimensions in a way that we can verify, or a way that we can gain something tangible from?
Well, I think for me that's where you get into the idea of like Graham Hancock, supernatural, and the idea of these patterns being connected across space-time in ways where there is forces that are happening outside there that are causing things to happen. But the idea of ghosts then being just a chain of attention is just one part of another landscape of all sorts of possibilities. And for me, the landscape of possibilities idea has always just been in my mind because I've never taken any psychedelics. So my astonishing surprise then was when the psychedelics community saw this way of visualizing dimensions. They saw so many connections to the various things that happen when you're under the influence of certain psychedelics. So David J. Brown is a world-renowned psychobiologist. Has written for Scientific American and Wired, and any of the serious research articles about psychedelics research. And yeah, he actually published a nice little blurb about me in his book that he published last year. Can I read it to you?
Absolutely, yes, please.
All right. So where we got it here? Okay, yeah. So David J. Brown is a psychobiologist. His book is The New Science of Psychedelics, and so he was talking about the 10th dimension in a paragraph, and here's what he says. Physicist Michio Kaku's book, Hyperspace, A Scientific Odyssey Through Parallel Universes, Time Warps, and the 10th Dimension, and Rob Bryanton's Imagining the 10th Dimension, both seem to provide uncanny maps of the territory that one encounters after smoking salvia or DMT. Like the two-dimensional character in Edward Abbott's book, Flatland, we seem just as limited in our three-dimensional perspective. So, that's been so amazing to me, because we get into the idea that there are things that we all just know about how our reality is derived, how good things happen to us because of certain other people's decisions and our own decisions, and bad things happen. And being able to try to sort out the things that are changeable is what you're encouraged to do if you're starting to think about a fifth dimensional version of you that is the best possible outcome from this moment forward.
We're live in studio right now with Rob Bryanton, the author of Imagining the 10th Dimension. Rob's also an architect of reality. We'll get to that just after the break. This is Paranormal, and you're listening to News Talk 980 CJME and News Talk 650 CKLN.